Thank you. Thank you. And how about a round of applause for our leaders and their team? The leadership that the students show around here is really a substantial mark of distinction for the school. We're very, very proud of them. Thank you for that. Do we have the best Federal Reserve Board chair on the planet, or what? How about Janet Yellen? Let me start there. Janet, I don't know how many of you know Janet. She taught MBA finance here for or macroeconomics rather, for over 20 years, right? So an awful lot of our alums had Janet. We talk about, there's a defining principle that we use at this school among four, and it is confidence without attitude. And I'll tell you a story about Janet, because she was very free with her lecture notes with her young colleagues that were coming in. My field is also macroeconomics, and I came to Berkeley after Janet did. And upon looking at her lecture notes, the very first lecture of the very first session of macroeconomics, you know what the first line in her notes was? It was, "Hello, my name is Janet Yellen." That's what she had as the first line in her notes. She is somebody that is really profoundly authentic. It is really quite remarkable when you get to know her. I think as I look back at the women at the Haas School and the role that they have played, particularly in the public arena, right? I will introduce Laura in just a moment, an absolutely remarkable career on her own, and also in the research, on the research side of things. The largest award that any of our faculty has won since our own Ollie Williamson won the Nobel Prize in 2009 was won last year by Ulrika Malmendier. She won the award for literally the top finance faculty member on the planet. It's called the Fisher-Black Award. It's given every 2 years. It's not given every year. It's a very good forecaster of future Nobel Prizes. You have to be under 40 to win it, so she is just smoking and right at the beginning of her relative early in her career. She is remarkable. She does work in behavioral corporate finance. Part of why she won that award is because she was breaking ground in a really new domain within finance, and absolutely extraordinary. So the tradition here at Berkeley-Haas, 3 of the 6 tenure track faculty members we hired this year were women. We still have a ways to go in getting an even more balanced tenure track faculty, but at the margin, what we're doing year by year now is getting better and better and better. Let me talk a bit about the students as well, because the students are not just organizing these wonderful conferences, but I brought with me a document that I still remember, because the students said, "We'd like to meet with you." Okay, let's meet. And so this was about a year ago. And they handed me a document. You won't be able to see this from way back there, but this document says 40 by 2020, 40 by 2020. And that's what they wanted to talk to me about. So what was 40 by 2020? If you look at full-time MBA programs around the world, certainly within the US, you find that they range among the top programs between 30 and 40%, and have for a long, long time. In fact, Berkeley-Haas was on the lower end of that range. If you look at our average percentage women in our first-year MBA class, the prior 3 years, it was around 31%. And in fact, the immediate prior year, the second year this year, it was 29%. And look, that's unacceptable. They set what was kind of an outrageous target of getting to 40% by 2020. And they defined a set of concrete initiatives that we all work together on. And the incoming class in our full-time MBA program this year was 43%, the highest of any business school. And I think the student initiative really drove this. There were a lot of things that got done. Let me just give you one example of something that got done. So we called Barbara DeSore, the CEO of Citibank, one of our alums and also on our advisory board. And we called Sabrina Simmons, the CFO of The Gap. We called a number of our alums that are in very significant positions. And these are obviously very busy people. And we asked, could we ask for 10 minutes of your time in exactly this way so that we can use all that you bring to the school in as spiky, as efficient a way as we possibly can? Would you talk to 2 of our admins in that 2 to 3 week period that you all remember when you have to decide between Berkeley and some other wonderful school. They both said, not just those two, but some 10 to 15 of these women said we would be happy to do that. And you can imagine those calls had quite an impact. And when I got to thank them for having done it, I was also able to tell them that we as a community moved the needle from effectively 29% the prior year to 43%. Now, that wasn't the only thing that moved the needle, but it was sort of that reach out and connecting with people and having them connect with others, and it sends a big message, and it's the message we should be sending. So that was a great, great outcome. Let me just say a couple other things. The research that's going on around here, and if anybody's interested in this, I'd be happy to provide it. I can provide it through the conference co-chairs. But I, among roughly 15 business school deans, got to go visit the White House. First time I'd ever been there. Laura's been there many, many times. I had never visited the White House myself. And it was on essentially what role can business schools play in advancing women in modern society and in the economy. It was a fascinating meeting. Now, I won't go into the meeting specifically, it was about 6 months ago, but one of the things that I did to try and prepare myself, because I don't do research in this area, we have a number of faculty members who do, as Laura knows. Laura Cray is one of them, one of our tenured faculty members in our management group. And Laura put together a one-pager, and this is what I will offer to you if you're interested. It's a one-pager on what does the research say. Right? I mean, there are all kinds of anecdotes and so forth, but if you're going to go into, well-respected, well-published, very robust social science research, what does the research say? And I'm just going to read from the front of this page here. The front of the page says, summary of gender differences in research. Gender differences fall under 2 general axes. The first axis concerns the drive for hierarchical differentiation. The second axis concerns the drive for belonging, social connection, and taking care of others. And then she goes on, well, she says this axis, the second of the two, corresponds most closely to the notion of beyond yourself. Beyond yourself is one of the 4 defining principles of this school. We make our admissions decisions based on these principles, among other things. I mentioned one other one earlier, confidence without attitude. And so she goes through this, and of course, these are measures of averages, and there's lots of heterogeneity in these two groups, these 2 gender groups. But the research is really quite robust on a number of these fronts, and it's helpful. It was helpful for me to see all the good work that has been done. Let me say that I see that it's 9:25. We are 1 minute away from the Pi Minute, right? It is 3/14/15/2015, and I think the next digits are 926. And could we just have a round of applause for Pi? Just one quick round of applause. Because this is literally a once-in-a-century moment that means absolutely nothing, but that's okay. Because we like to celebrate fun stuff. Hey, it is look, I welcome you all here, and we are excited to have you here. It is great that this sold out, and there's more and more energy around it. It's a really important and vibrant part of the school itself, which is really part of what I wanted to convey with some of the things that I just said to you. So let me introduce you now to our wonderful panelists here, and we will get started with the content of the session. So much of the day is focused on empowering you at the level of individual skill sets, as our organizers mentioned. We want you to walk out of here thinking, now that I can put into practice. That is going to be valuable. We've got a lot of that in the program for you. Today, this conversation, or this morning, Ann O'Leary and Laura Tyson, they will focus a bit more on the broader society. How can our broader society empower women, and specifically through policy? They both have made enormous strides on behalf of all of us in the policy arena around this. Both work in the policy arena. Both have worked, incidentally, for Hillary Clinton. Both have had very supportive spouses, and they will reflect on this in their comments as well. Ann O'Leary, let me start with Ann. Director at Next Generation, has been empowering women and therefore families via policy advocacy throughout her career. There's much here. I'm just going to touch on little bits of it. The bios are in that conference program that you got the app for. She directs the the Children and Families program at Next Generation, includes spearheading Too Small to Fail, that is Next Generation's joint initiative with the Clinton Foundation to help parents and businesses take meaningful actions to improve health and well-being of children ages 0 to 5. She serves as a senior fellow at the Center for American Progress, where she writes about work-family policies. Previously, she served as a lecturer in health law at UC Berkeley's School of Law, Berkeley Law, executive director of the Berkeley Center on Health, Economic, and Family Security at Berkeley Law, deputy city attorney for the city of San Francisco. There are many, many remarkable things here. Anne is a member also of the board of KQED, the East Bay Community Law Center. She earned a bachelor's degree from Mount Holyoke College, a master's in education policy from Stanford University, and a law degree from Berkeley Law. Anne and her husband, Goodwin Liu, Associate Justice of the California Supreme Court of California. They live in Oakland with their 2 children. Let me introduce my friend and colleague, Laura Tyson. She is a professor and director, as many of you know, of our Institute for Business and Social Impact, PACT, which is the umbrella institute that nests our Center for Responsible Business, our Center for Social Science, social sector leadership, global social venture competition, and also our joint program with our Masters in Public Health here, MBA, MPH. She served as Dean of London Business School. That was 2002 to 2006. She was Dean of our own Berkeley-Haas from 98 to 2001. She served in the Clinton administration as the chair of the CEIA, the Council of Economic Advisors. That was 93 to 95. Also as director of the National Economic Council. She's a board member of Morgan Stanley, AT&T, CBRE, and Silver Spring Networks. She's also an economic advisory board member of the World Bank's International Finance Corporation. And more recently, under President Obama, she served on the Council of Jobs and Competitiveness, and also on the President's Economic Recovery Advisory Board. And Laura, we are very thankful for your being here. Thank you.
Thank you.